Welcome back to the Florida Band Podcast, everybody. We're here to make you...
What? I don't need your permission for that. I'll do that while I'm well good and ready. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well,
Anyone else have a good cold open?
I think that's as cold as it gets.
Ice cold, baby.
Yep. In the veins.
It's a brisk, as it were.
Any of you have a beverage of choice? I have coffee.
I also have coffee.
Nope.
Andrew's drinking piss.
No, I'm not. No. That was Friday when I had dinner with some family. I ordered a Red Stripe.
Oh,
That's
Jesus.
Yeah. Well, it was funny too because I bought it and Marissa was just like, "Why would you do that?" And I was like, "Why would I not do that? Like they have it on the menu. I have to have it."
And then you proved her right.
You don't.
Well, the best part was that like a fly landed in the beer.
Oh,
And I didn't
no.
drink it after that, but I was like, "Oh wow, the beer got better."
Oh, no. Oh, God. Okay.
I texted a picture of the beer to Craig too, and he all he responded was an emoji throwing up.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I'm sure.
that's basically what it is.
It was so bad. Oh my god. Would I
Fermented
do it
barf.
again? Would I do it again? Absolutely. But like,
If the vibe is right, yeah, sure.
oh my god. The vibe can be. I can be like at a country club. I'm opening up some Red Stripe.
Ain't happening. No.
Yeah, no. I'm good.
You already know at a country club, it's Stella.
Oh, true. Either that or Bud Light, because that's what they have.
Stella Artois. Boy, they ain't drinking no Bud Light.
Dude, we went to one of Marissa's old mentors was in town, who also happens to be the guy, one of the guys at UNT, and he came in and he met us at like a golf club. We were like, "Why are we here?" But it was just because that's what he thought of.
You talking about Dan Cook?
Yeah, yeah, and like, so we went to a golf club, and they had Bud Light and Coors Light, and I was like, "What kind of golf club is this?"
That was bougie.
Yeah, sure. It is what it is. Anyway, welcome everybody. We are 3 minutes in. Okay. So the main topic of today is just MPA wrap up, our thoughts on the process. Kind of maybe we could talk a little bit about just kind of how things went, as well as what we're looking forward to in the coming wrapping of the year.
Yes.
Yep.
So AJ,
Sounds
how
good.
did your MPAs go, man?
I think they went as good as they could. I think, the kids had fun. A lot of my kids had never been to MPA before. So I would say a good 90% of my band had never been to MPA. So they took the experience in. A lot of them were scared a little bit. That's just how the vibe was for my kids. They were nervous. They just usually are no matter what. So I try to, help them have fun with stuff and, not try to get my stress level, shown to them as much as I can. But they did a great job. They were a little bit nervous about sight reading, and rightfully so. It was, I looked at the sight reading and it was interesting. But I think overall, and I was telling Christian and Kaylin this, but I think we left some things to be desired in the sight reading room, of course. But I think it was more so just about their confidence levels, which we're going to work on. So, but other than that, the kids played really great on stage. I was very, very satisfied with that. I was listening back to the mics, and, I could hear a lot more clearly what everything was sounding like. But then again, the mics are always in a, they're not in the best spot. I mean, it's kind of, in my opinion, I think the mics should be somewhere in the same area as the judges, just so that we can get a better understanding of what the judges are hearing.
That's a good point.
I just think, I never really understand. I get why they want to put it right in front of the band. I understand. But when you have it right in front of the band, you run the risk for there's pros and cons, but you run the risk for, getting those instruments that are right in the front of the ensemble. So for us, it was like the trumpets off to the side. It was just glaring like the entire time.
Yeah.
And what was nice was I got some feedback after that kind of was like they were okay at times. There were some times where they were a little bit too much, but other than that, but in the mic, in the recording on the mic, it was just like all the time. The trumpets were just out and about.
Sure.
But obviously the other side to that is if you move the mics backward, you get, you don't really get the crisp and cleanliness of that sound.
You get that reverb.
Right. So other than that, we did have some issues. I think the school that we were at, we had an issue with the guides that were there. They didn't really know what time to move us, or
that
it
always
was
happens. Oh my God.
But it was very. It seemed like I was trying to tell them what to do, and I, in my mind, if I can speak today, in my mind, I was like, okay, well, if they're not going to do this for us, then we're going to go. Like, the guide would like show us where to go, and then she would stop and hold doors open for my band. I'm like, no, they'll hold the doors open for them, but you show us where to go. And we were like 5 minutes late. We were 5 minutes late to our performance. So I was like, it was just a whole different thing. And then it started raining outside while we were in the middle of walking. And I'm assuming this is a band kid that's guiding us, and I told her that, hey, listen, my woodwinds can't be out in the rain like that. You can't have those instruments out in the rain, or else their pads are going to start sticking, or they can cause damage to some of them. And she was like, oh, okay. And I'm like, okay. And I already had kids complaining in the warm-up room that their pads were sticking. And I was like, just do the best that you can. And then we get to where I assumed we were going to go on stage. And then they changed it last second, which we had already lined the kids up for. So we put them in that correct order where I thought they were entering from, I believe it's stage right.
Yes.
It's when you're looking at the stage. No, you're stage left because you're on the stage. So we were entering stage left. And
okay.
And then they were like, oh, we're going to go around the building. And I was like, okay, are we still entering? No, it's completely different. I'm like, okay. I was going around, and we realized that we were coming in stage right now. And so I had to like individually pull out the line that was first.
Yeah. Flip
them around. And then that took like 3 minutes, and that gave them a little bit of stress. But we figured it out. It was what it was. I wasn't too concerned with that. This group has been through so much. So.
Oh, by the way, I just looked it up. Only 2 districts have not completed their middle school concert MPA. We can totally talk about the sight reading because by the time this airs, like everyone's will be done. So,
yeah.
So we can 100% talk about it very specifically if we want to later in this episode.
Yeah.
I took a quick sweep. It's like District 6 and District... It's like District 6, District 16, and then District 9. I haven't finished it. But...
Yeah. I think it was more or less a learning... And I told the kids, I think this was a learning process more than anything. I think it was... For them, they just needed to get their feet wet with what the MPA experience is like. I was telling Christian that for a lot of these kids... they're not really top band quality. I also don't, it's because I don't have a second band this year. So I had to take in everyone in that group. But granted, we still managed to get straight ones. And I was very proud of that. They managed to pull that off. And
what did you hear? Did you hear straight ones?
Definitely not.
I
think they were being a little generous at least for me. Some of the judge comments, I think they could have been a little bit more, not harsher, but a little bit more real. I think that,
and we can get into that conversation later.
Yeah.
I was just curious because I always ask the ask the directors after they perform, like, what did you hear?
Yeah.
So,
I definitely think that the sight reading was not superior level. I think that should have been at least an excellent. at the
Oh,
at,
yeah, no,
at the
ours-
most.
Our judge gifted us that. Like I was like, thank you, sir.
But there was there was an understanding, and our judge was very, very adept at understanding what was being played. So
Who was your sight reading judge?
Michael Dressman.
Okay.
Yeah, so he and some of the kids had seen him before at Solon Ensemble last year, so they saw a familiar face and they were like, "Oh, okay," But I think that the overall attitude was like you can hear it in the tone of his voice. He was like, "I know this is gonna go downhill, but you just got to do it."
Super positive. You got to be super positive. When you're a sight reading judge,
Yeah.
you have to be positive because it's
Yep.
more about reinforcing the process. And it's so tricky because a lot of times sight reading there are two, from what I've learned, there are two types of judges. There are judges that like always do sight reading, and then there are judges that are doing sight reading for like the very first time.
Yeah.
And you'll find judges that are always super forgiving, or you'll find judges that are like hardcore. The consensus that I like talking to judges, the consensus that I've learned is that a lot of judges really just look for as long as you're grabbing everything you can, as long as you maintain a good sound, they'll usually, lean towards higher percentages. Just because because typically the first, especially in younger bands, the first thing to go away is the sound because they're so focused about the page. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking at how he rated. He was pretty consistent, like a long,
Yeah.
the bands that scored well on stage usually scored well in the sight reading room, and the bands that were here or there. He seems like a really consistent judge.
Yeah, he is. So
Cool. I dig it. Sea Dog, how'd you guys do?
MPA went pretty well for us. Both groups got straight ones, which was awesome. And the second group, they really wanted it. I could tell a few weeks out that they really dialed in, and every day we had a great rehearsal. There's a couple kids that I had to pull to the side here or there for whatever reason, but for the most part, they were really dialed in. My top band, now they know I love them, but every day it was a struggle. It was like pulling teeth.
Yeah.
Just to get them to focus, and they would lose focus so quickly. And so I was just very straight with them the whole way through, getting ready, and I'm like, if you play like that, you're not gonna get what you want, and they're kind of the mindset that when you show up to get the plaque, that's when you turn it on, not realizing that the plaque is earned in the rehearsal,
Yeah.
So but because they are who they are, they really are just amazing kids. They lit up the stage and did really, really well. They got straight A's from all the judges, and everybody went home happy. The sight reading went well. In fact, the concert band, I was most nervous about them because they have the most literacy issues, but because they work really well as a team. They help each other. Mm-hmm. Especially some of the younger kids. They pulled it through, and I think they actually did a little better. Like, considering the level of music they played versus symphonic, I think they pulled out a better product in the sight reading room than the top group did. I think the top group went in maybe a little overconfident, but then at the same time, I had a couple sections, mainly the trumpet section, that I had 4 trumpets in that group, and 2 of them are just not confident at all, let alone with sight reading. So that was actually marked on the judge's sheet, but it didn't lower any score or letter or anything. But it straight up said trumpets need to have more confidence. The second time was much better because there was a repeat. When they did the repeat, they were like, oh, it goes like this. So that was that. I think when it comes to the location, and the host, I think they did as good as they can. I can't recall another MPA before this year that they ran, and they were gracious enough to do orchestra MPA along with high school and middle school band. And, were there issues? Yeah, but they're human, and they were even with the mistakes that they made, like they made some mistakes with us as far as where we were supposed to go and our times and stuff. Like they didn't even have the updated schedule for the second day. And so they thought we were going to perform at 1:15 when we were actually going to perform at noon and things like that. But as long as, you know, I was polite with them, they were polite back, and they figured it out, and everything worked out really well. So shout out to Jonte for that. I think, you know, everything went really well. And then one of the concession stand workers gave me a free water because I was just dying of thirst. So that was nice.
Did you eat another pepper this year?
No peppers. I'm not doing that again. Don't bring that up. Ain't got no peppers.
Oh god, that was so funny. I dig it.
That year I had to do it. I had to do something because like, that was very cathartic for me. That second year at MPA.
Well, because that was the year you broke the
The
ceiling
year before. So yeah.
Yeah.
So that next year, like I was willing to do anything.
You broke the ceiling that year. Like,
yes. No. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That was it.
I remember you were like dialed in for 4 months that year. That like it was the whatever it takes mindset, but like you guys pulled it out and it was an awesome performance. Yeah, like we I think I talked about it last week. My kids walked away. The top band walked away with straight ones, which I thought our superior in sight reading was a gift, because that march was not good. But I did AJ, I did the same march as you.
Oh, Infinity.
No, the sight reading.
Oh yeah, the sight reading.
Yeah, I was MC.
Yeah, the sight reading.
And then for the second band walked away with twos, and you know, I think I talked about it last week about what happened with the
yeah you did, yeah.
So that was the thing, and we can talk about it if we want to in later this episode, just the politics of ratings on different days and different sites, because I think you guys are one of the few places like us that does different sites and different panels on the same day for MPA, because the region is so large. And the one thing that I noticed about our MPA was that the judges were, which by the way, like the panels for our judges were great. I'm not going to say who the panels were, but they were fantastic in both, because what was interesting was that on one day the judges would be like super, super harsh, and then the next day they would calibrate, or vice versa. Like one day they were like really, really, really easy, and then the next day they would kind of calibrate and even it out a little bit to where there was still some balance in the ratings. But no, yeah, like I talked about it last week. My top band, the second we played through that march on stage, they realized, it's so cool watching kids realize that like this is the peak performance. And it was one of the few times in my career so far where everyone was in the moment. And like I'm sure you guys have had those experiences too with the kids, where like they're performing and you can just feel everybody's attention dialed in and executing. And it was a really, like that top band performance was really, really special. Because like after every performance there were kids quietly going, yes, we did it, like, yeah, that was awesome. And it wasn't that like, yeah, we did the superior, like, because they don't know. It was just like, regardless of how the rating turned out, they were really happy with how they performed. Which I always tell, and I always tell the kids, like, it's not about, the plaque is a result of a good of your best. I say the plaque is a result of your best performance, and I say what you're chasing is walking off the stage knowing that you did everything you could. Because if you walk off the stage knowing you did everything you could, one way or another, you'll have peace with the rating. Because it's like, all right, that's our best. Assuming that your best isn't, fours, but like, and so, it was really cool because like a couple kids were like, yeah, man, it's going to be what's going to be, because that was dope. And I was like, that was dope. And, like, great job. And they pulled it out. My favorite part about the second band, about my symphonic band, was that they knew walking off the stage that it wasn't a superior. And they weren't, like, a couple kids were super upset about it, but they weren't, they weren't boo boo. Like they weren't sore losers about it. It was just kind of it was really cool for them to recognize and be like, yeah, we heard what happened and we know that's not what it's supposed to be. Which is great because that entire ensemble was their first time at MPA, which is usually the case for your JV ensemble. But their maturity through the process was really, really cool. Because normally, you know, it's like you guys have said, like you'll have your concert band or your symphonic band will have like a little bit of jitters, or like AJ said, like they were just a little nervous because they didn't really know what to expect. And just their disposition through the entire event, regardless of their performance, was very, very nice. They were calm. They're as calm as they could be. They were very accepting of what happened and very, you know, mature about the process. The one thing that they didn't accept was those two knuckleheads who were playing the wrong piece at the wrong time. But like, ain't nobody gonna accept that. Just,
right.
Whatever, man. In terms of what was your programs, guys? Again, AJ, what was your program?
So we had Infinity March by James Cornell, and then we played Glen Canyon Overture by John Edmondson, and then we played Shepherd's Hay it was an arrangement by Andrew Ballant. But we took a little spin on it. There was a cello rondo at the end that, you know, I felt like wasn't fast enough. So we took it faster. I think we clocked in around 200 beats per minute just playing it. And the kids got excited. And I honestly wouldn't have played it if we couldn't do that. But we were able to do it. It was just lots of reps with the Met. And isolating certain parts of the music where, you know, obviously the downbeats were the ones that were going to drive the tempo forward. So, you know, we had a timpani player, tuba player, low winds, anyone that had the downbeat 1 and 3 that were just driving forward. But that was a fun piece, and the kids really liked that one.
That's faster than like the Dallas Wind Symphony.
Nah, no way.
Well, like, have you heard their recording of Shepherd's Hay? Like
I've heard the President's Own. I think that's
like you gotta listen to Junkin's band doing that, and it's like,
yeah,
it's so crazy.
I think we really took it in 2, so it was really 100, but in cut time.
Was that the 2 or was the? Oh no, the 2 was
the overture, which the kids
Canyon,
liked more than the other one. But
I like Glen Canyon, man. It's written like the inner voices have cool parts, and so it flushes it out. It's like,
yeah,
it's one of their, like, McGinty's and Edmondson's, you know, couple of pieces that don't sound like the rest of them, in my opinion. But
what'd you play?
Yeah, we played All for One, One for All, March by Carol Britton Chambers. Dope piece. Would 10 out of 10 recommend.
This your top band or second band?
That was my top band, and then it was a slightly easier march. We dug into it in the winter concert, and I just kind of put it like they just played it, and then we were able to dig in and like really get a lot out of it for the MPA cycle. I enjoyed that march. And then they played a Hymn of Remembrance, which is the same hymn from the Grade 3 Nettleton, just, you know, it's the melody and then the accompaniment behind it is simplified. It's a great too. Like I like that too a lot. Like Craig walked up to me and he was just like, dude, I gotta play that too. I was like, it's a good too. Like, it's really good. And then we played Sea Song Trilogy. My favorite piece was Hymn of Remembrance because Bill and Craig challenged me this year to play something slow. Just to see, you know, how that would stretch my own teaching, and kids pulled it out and they really liked it too. Like for that piece, I made a point when we started learning it, I read them the program notes and was just like, you know, it's a piece about remembering those who you love and who you've lost. So when you play this piece, you need to play it with that kind of delicacy and that kind of intention. And we were able to kind of really dig into the musicality from the get-go because the kids were able to get into the feel of it. And then for Sea Song, I was talking to Christian about this the other day. Like, if you guys look up the statistics of Sea Song, like, you can actually look up the rating statistics of pieces on the FBA website. And
oh, okay.
Which that would be a really interesting episode and conversation. And if you look up those ratings, Seasong has one of the worst achievement percentages because people who typically play it because they think that it's easy. But it's not the easiest to because there's 2 key changes.
See, now I have a new challenge for myself.
What?
Is to go on that site and pick pieces that
that are like low achieving
and like get ones on it. Yeah.
That was part of it because like I went to the FBA adjudication seminar in January at FMEA, and they were just like the joke of the day was just Seasong Trilogy and how everybody and their mom plays it because they think it's an easier 2, and it's not a hard 2, but it's not the easiest 2. And so typically when you hear Seasong Trilogy, it's people just, crapping their pants all over it. And so I looked at the band and I told them that. I was like, people play this piece because they pick it because they think it's easy and they do poorly on it. I said, we are going to play the crap out of it. And that is exactly what they did. I was super proud of them for that. Like, I would recommend Seasong Trilogy if you've got good woodwinds and good trumpets.
And what about your second band?
Second band did, what did they do? Oh, they did Prelude and Dance, Shaker Hymn, and then Manchester March. It was a showcase on McGinty and Edmondson and John O'Reilly. Prelude and Dance was the piece that they played twice.
Got it.
I guess they really liked that piece.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And they did well. Those are all pieces I've done before. They're just and I was the same thing. Like I challenged the band playing Shaker Hymn, which is a slow piece, and the thing that got in their way was their articulation was just too heavy. Like they heard the recording and they were like, "It sounds like we're stomping." I was like, "Yeah, a little bit," but
mm-hmm.
that's part of learning how to play slow. Like that's why you learn to play slow, is to have finesse. But no, it's they did a good job with it, and they really like Prelude and Dance. But yeah, what'd you play?
So second band did Valley Forge March, and I like that one because it has Chester in the middle of it. Ooh. Yeah, it's really interesting. And then they did the Meckel Rogers Music for the Queen's Court, so very Renaissance style. They really liked that one, and has a Picardy third at the end, which was fun.
That's cool.
And then, what was their last piece? Oh, Larry Clark, Canticle of the Sun. And that was a what to put together. But they really liked that one. It was a good challenge.
Do you like it?
I came to like it. I didn't like it before. I didn't like it before.
I don't care for that piece.
Yeah, I didn't like it before. I've come to like it. Anytime I heard anyone else play it, I was like, But that it's a challenge, especially in the first clarinets, and then with the way the melody is written, it can become disjointed really, really easy. All the interval jumps, can make it sound. If they don't put enough sound on the lower notes, it'll just sound. It won't sound good. It won't flow. So
right.
that was definitely a challenge, but they stepped up for it. And then
you had the low brass for it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had strong low brass in that group. 3 8th grade trombones out of 4, and 2 8th grade tubas. So,
great.
Yeah, we were set.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the top group, we were planning on doing Amparita Roca. Like we prepped it. We did it at the concert music camp, and we kept working it, but a series of unfortunate events and whatnot, it just didn't work out for us. And so I gave them a deadline to be able to play it, MPA ready before I had to change it, like before the deadline.
Yeah.
And it wasn't there, and we talked about it. They voted on it, and even though a lot of kids still wanted to keep it, we went ahead and changed it to Success March, which was a march that they had sight read previously, just for practice.
And they liked it.
They liked it enough to say, okay, we'll play that. And so that way we were able to spend more time on the other 2 pieces. So we played Success March, and then we played Accolade by William Himes, which they really liked. And then American Cameos. I mean, I'm proud to say that like the kids liked everything they played, and I'm glad that I've started having them choose what they play. You know, I pass out several pieces and I just let them vote. That way the buy-in's there. I don't have to worry about that at all. Like anytime we go to a piece of music, I don't hear, oh, you know?
Right.
So that helped a lot. Definitely helped a lot.
Cool. Yeah, I think we had that same thing. Like I made a point to, because the kid, it's so hard. I feel like it's getting harder. Maybe it's just me to get kids to buy into slow pieces. I have found that the easiest way to get a kids to buy into slow pieces is typically slow pieces have like really emotional program notes. And so you can pull on the heartstrings real fast and be like, this is a piece of like maturity, and this is a piece of love, and this is a piece of like in memoriam to X or Y. And the kids are like, oh wow, it's a serious piece. Like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, it's super deep. And they're like, oh, okay. But a piece that I gotta try Canticle of the Sun again. I've only tried that once. I never tried it we never played it for MPA. But like I've read it before. I just don't care. Like I don't know. Everyone recommends
it's thankfully for that one, the you know, typically in his pieces the lows don't have interesting parts. Mm-hmm. But in this one they do have some interesting parts.
Right.
Timing is definitely an issue, and then make sure you just have good first clarinets. That's all I'll say. Or they're ready for the challenge.
Right.
The slow piece thing, I did a slow piece. I did Heartland several years ago, and they really liked it. You know, but that was they picked it because they just liked it.
Yeah.
So I do think it does take some selling, and it does take like consistent exposure to or regular exposure to playing slow pieces and feeling successful at it, and you know, they like the way slow pieces sound when they play it. Then they'll pick them. I just didn't pass any out. You know, I was just looking at stuff until I got my 8 pieces that I wanted to pass out. And it just so happened that none of them were legit slow pieces. They had slow sections. Right. You know, Accolade has some lyrical stuff, and then for American contrast. Cameos has that giant lyrical section in the middle, you know, so they play lyrical stuff. It just wasn't just like strictly lyrical, you know?
Right. Did you, AJ, how many pieces did you guys read before you settled in your program?
I think we read the 3 that we did, and then we read about 2 or 3 more, so total of 6.
Okay.
And we played a march that we did we learned a march that we did at the winter concert. And
so both of y'all did a winter concert piece for MPA.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it.
Right, but I didn't end up choosing it. I think it was because I knew that the workload on the other 2 pieces were going to be a lot. And so I chose a piece that was a little bit shorter. Infinity March is pretty short. It's only like 38 measures.
Yeah, that's pretty short.
There's like, it's not like a traditional march. It just feels like a march for 38 measures, and that's it. So I decided on that one, and the kids were like, yeah, that's fine. And then we went ahead and read the other pieces, and you know, we did the good old-fashioned play it super slow kind of thing. We read it, and they got through it, most of it. You know, we didn't do any of the Accelerandos and Shepherd's Hay, but you know, they read through it, and it seemed pretty decent at least. So I think that it was around 6 pieces, and then next year, obviously, you know, I'm gonna give them more of an opportunity to choose. I think this year it was just they needed some stability. They needed someone to choose for them what it was. Since we had moved into the library, they didn't really mind what was there in front of them. They just wanted to play.
I mean, it was a good call. Yeah, it was a good call because of all the turmoil you had to deal with that move and everything. Like, it still doesn't. You know, I was in your library. It doesn't look like you're settled in yet, which is completely understandable.
Yeah, it's never going to be, honestly.
The more you can take off their plate, the better.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That was the original plan, and it seemed to work out, you know, obviously it just, you know,
Yeah,
they were
you're good.
They
You're
were
good.
good.
You're good.
So, but yeah.
Heck yeah. Yeah, we read.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, we read. I think we read 5 pieces because we read of the 3. Like we were gonna always do All for One March. Like we played it for the winter concert, and I was like, I really like this march, and they're not diving in as much as we could, so let's do this. But like we read through Glen Canyon, and I was like, we could do it, but I'm already doing. I was settled in on Sea Song because I knew I had the band for it. So I was like, we're going to do that. So the pieces that I read we read Hymn of Remembrance, we read Glen Canyon, we read, what was the other one we read? We read Whispers by Larry Clark. Didn't have the horns for it. Well, I might have the horns for it next year. That's a dope slow piece, by the way. If you have good trumpets and you have good trumpets, you have good oboe, and you have good horns, you could play that piece. And then we read, what was the other 2? Emerald Isle. And I was like, I don't care. Kids didn't care either. What were you going to say, Christian?
I was gonna say we can move on to Hindsight. So what did we learn, and what do we want to make sure we do or don't do next time?
Who wants to start?
Little reflection.
Reflections by Larry Clark.
You can go, Andrew.
Also a dope one, by the way. I think the one thing that I didn't do this year that I need to do more of, and I always do it, it didn't happen this year just because of, the other things on my plate mentally. It just slipped, and that's on me. I didn't sight read as much as I wanted to this year, which is why the gift of like that superior from sight reading was a gift, and I was like, holy crap! Like, mind you, they played really well. For the overture, like it's the one that I called Variations on Beat 2.
Yeah,
because that whole piece was play on beat 2, and then 2 measures later play 2 whole notes for 8 counts as you crescendo, and that's the piece. But like we didn't sight read with both bands as much as I want to, and my para and I we printed out pretty much every piece from the Ann McGinty, John Edmondson beginning band books of like all of those, you know what I mean? Like it's like those terrific clarinets and like those crappy trumpets and like all those pieces. And we only read through about half of them, and we read through half of them most of the time in the front end of the cycle. And I could tell that as we were going through the rest of the MPA cycle in February that they got a little stale on it, and I was like, crap. So I would. Next year, I'm going to make a point to just try to make sure I'm sight reading throughout the entire year to supplement that, so that way it's not as much of a stress. And which is what I normally do. I haven't done it this year, and it showed, and I didn't like that. One thing that I liked. Have you guys ever taken? I think Christian. I think you did. Have you guys ever taken 2 bands on the same day?
No.
So I took 2 bands on the same day this year. I originally wasn't going to. It was supposed to be second band on Thursday, top band on Friday. But honestly, it's a little stressful. This year was the first year I took 2 bands, and I honestly, like, on the same day, and because normally I take them on separate days, but I didn't mind having them on the same day because I was done. Like it's a grind, and my feet really hurt because I was on the site from like 2 to 10 because my second band performed second and my top band performed last. And I also don't mind the last performance. Like, I think it's kind of cool being the last one's there. But and the kids dug it too, because I was just like, what do we do? What's the saying? And they're like, save the best for last. And I was like, yeah. And it was a really nice, easy hype point. But I think the thing that I learned was that I do like taking them on the same day, because it's all done in one day. You know, you get to being on site all day. You kind of get a taste for what how the judges are calibrating, because you see the evolution of their thought process from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. Because like at the beginning of the day, there might be things about the stage that, you know, you didn't take into account, where like the percussion are super, super hot. Or like AJ said, like the trumpets on the stage just might really cut through for some reason. And watching the judges calibrate their ratings throughout the day and they're judging and their comments throughout the day based off of, oh, we thought it was the bands just have bad percussion. Turns out it's just the stage kind of thing. I liked it, but I'll tell you, if you do it, it's a lot. The biggest benefit is I was done. Like I got to hang out at the MPA for I got to hang out at the MPA for the next couple of days and just kind of watch bands. But I think the other thing that I learned was this year, and this is embarrassing being an 8th year teacher, but the value of recording. I recorded my band more this year than I ever have. And it lent itself to, it's just a nice reminder for everybody. It lent itself to much more often organized rehearsals with lots of hit lists of just, let's hit this spot, let's hit this spot, let's hit this spot, okay, bell rang. And then, you would do that for 3-4 days. That really made a big difference in my band's achievement and rehearsal flow. And, it made a huge difference. The kids could feel it too. And I didn't necessarily play the recordings for the kids. I would post the recordings on our Discord and be like, if you want to listen, go for it, because you're going to hear some wild stuff. But I think those are the two biggest lessons, was making sure that we're always remembering to do more sight reading, and then recording myself more often, because the level of achievement is just higher for the students. And that's why we're doing this. Is it's so hard to hear your band in a recording, because but it's the old adage, if your band sounds good in a recording, they sound good. So hearing that evolution was really helpful. What about you guys?
For me, I think I'm going to start a week or two before winter break, just because I seem to have forgotten how short quarter 3 is. Mainly because, we have FMEA, and then we have concert music camp, and we have all county band and all kinds of stuff going on. I might want to start a little bit sooner than I did this year. It also didn't help that the last week of winter break we had Midwest, so I was gone the whole week that they would have been playing through stuff. Now, I did have someone in to play through stuff with them, but it wasn't every day that week. So, but even having someone in, it still wasn't as effective as I would have hoped, simply because it's just someone different. Definitely want to record more. I think I only recorded one time and went from there, because we had pre-MPA, and then there was one other time that was that week that was different. But there was one time I recorded after pre-MPA, like a week or two after, and then that was it. Because I just got carried away with, other stuff. And I think either, Andrew, I'll do what you did, which was take 2 bands on the same day. It depends on, transportation in Broward is just broken right now, and not in a good way. And so we'd have to see how that works out. Or if we go on different days, I might make it a full day field trip so that they hear other bands. And that's all.
It's the same with Palm Beach, though, because before AJ, sorry, quick question. When do you guys reserve your buses? Because I reserve my buses in August.
Yeah, so
that would probably be the smartest idea.
So when we reserve buses, they want exact times of, departure and pickup and all that. And
well, I make it vague, because I'll do is I'll reserve buses for all 3 days, and I'll say pick up at 1 and drop off at 8, and then when we get the schedule, I'll just shed the 2 buses and give them a revised, because the idea is just booking the buses. Yeah,
that's what we have to do.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yep.
I do it in August. I started doing that 2 years ago, and I'm never looking back. But AJ, okay. What did you learn?
Well, a lot. I think that there's definitely there's going to be a special place in my heart for this specific group that I have, just because it was a hodgepodge of kids at varying different playing abilities. A lot of them, I said this before, a lot of them were in beginning band just last year, and the fact that they're able to play at this level, get superiors with the music that was presented to them definitely means a lot. But that doesn't come without, what we can learn. I think that, just on the MPA side of it, like the actual day of MPA, I think that overall, I think my kids were a little too excited, or something was happening where they just would not stop talking. It was like incessant. And that's just more or less I'm trying to figure out that issue on my end. But like, it would be whenever I'm not around, they would just start talking, even if the parents were telling them to stop talking. But I feel like that's just middle school. So there was that. Of course, sight reading we can definitely be better at. We did do sight reading like the full month before, and I just realized that we need more work in the rhythm charts. I think that the overall consensus was that the kids they're not really comfortable with reading rhythms. And one of the biggest comments that Michael Dressman gave us was, I'm not here to grade how amazing you guys play. I'm here to see if you guys can read your music, and if your band director has taught you how to read your music.
And if you paid attention to your band director.
Yep. Yes. Yeah. he also said that.
Yeah, he was a really good judge. I appreciated everything he said in it.
Absolutely. But the kids just got way too psyched out, and I think it was because of the fact that a lot of my 8th graders didn't really have that formative year of reading skills. And to be very honest, I didn't really harp on them a lot this year, based on their, just from reading skills from the get-go. So that's on me. I think next year we're gonna be going through the rhythm charts within the first month of school for both the middle and top band that we have, and consistently going through them. I'll call out a chart, and we'll do that.
Can I make a suggestion? Are you going to
use
use the middle school habits book, the yellow one?
I'm thinking about it. I just need to learn more about it.
The rhythm vocabulary.
We can get together this summer and talk about it.
The rhythm vocabulary section in that book is awesome.
Can confirm.
That's what I use during the school year.
All right.
Because they count a line of rhythms, and then they play a melody based on those rhythms.
Yeah.
It's a little more interesting than the rhythm charts.
Right.
That, and then once you get past in addition to that, I also use the 101 rhythmic rest patterns, but not the first 10 lines, because the first 10 lines is half notes and whole notes. Get into the dotted eighth 16th part where they're doing that kind of stuff, and then also there's eighth note parts where there's upbeats, and getting them to read that music and think about the subdivision with that kind of fidelity makes a big difference too. That's an oldie.
Yeah, we can definitely go through that this summer, and I'll make my plans on that. But yeah, I think that was one of the biggest things. It kind of left, and I told Christian and Kaylin this, and Shannon as well. I just was like, I loved, I was very satisfied with the stage performance, but that sight reading room left so much to be desired on my end, and I feel like the kids, they got a little disheartened, and that wasn't very fun to watch. Because they start doubting themselves, and even more so. But Michael Dressman stepped in at the end, and he goes, you need to understand that, this is just one moment in time. This is just one moment, and, this is a culmination of your entire year, and I'm just hearing you in this moment. You might have had an amazing stage performance, but I'm just hearing you in this one moment, so don't get discouraged. The other comment that I distinctly remember is that he told the kids that if you stop playing, you fail. That's the epitome of failing, when you stop trying. So you can't stop playing. You cannot stop playing, even if it's the wrong notes. And he was telling them, even if you were playing the wrong notes, don't stop playing, because then your confidence is going to go down. And I told the kids this when we got back to school on Thursday. And we played the recordings for them, and they were listening, even though we didn't have everyone in attendance because it was a half day. But I told them, you you don't understand the value of having confidence in this business. Like, even if it's not true and 100% like real confidence, at least fake yourself or act yourself into thinking that you have this sense of confidence, so that way you can get through something like sight reading.
Wrong and strong, baby.
Because a lot of kids
Wrong
would
and
just,
strong.
yeah, I tell them that, like, I would rather you play the loudest wrong note than put your instrument down. Because I don't understand. It's like they don't want, like, they're all seeking perfection. They don't want to have that sense of mistake. And again, that's a culture, shift that needs to happen. And we're slowly getting there where they can be okay with those mistakes.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of times, specifically my kids, they want everything to be perfect right away. And I'm just gonna always put the onus back on me. That's partially my thing too. Is if the kids practice, then it should be good enough. But it's not gonna, and it's never really gonna be good enough. But going back to MPA, went on a little rant.
But like it's the kind of thing though. It's like that's. So I think it's a good rant because I think it's one of those things where that's what as long as you're talking about it all the time. Like I tell my kids almost every day, like Mr. Lopez is a man built on mistakes, and if you ask Mrs. Lopez, does Mr. Lopez make a bunch of mistakes? She'll just laugh and say yes. And I'm sitting there with a dum dum with my thumbs up. Like it's the only way to live, man. Like I feel like the more you talk about it, the kids will just buy in, and that kind of transparency.
Yeah. So I just think that I think in the future, I think we're going to probably start a little bit earlier. Like Christian said, it was a very, very quick turnaround. I think it was, in my opinion, a little stressful.
Yeah. Well, granted, you did have the March, going for that second concert.
Right. Yeah.
What do you guys, when is your winter concert? Because my winter concert, I learned that lesson from Greg. Like my winter concert's the first week of December always, so I have that time to give them like what you guys were talking about. When's your concert?
Usually the first week of December as well, because that second week we have the Coral Springs Holiday Parade.
Oh, right.
Yeah. The first real week of December.
Mm-hmm.
So, but well, the other thing too was, we had Midwest and then winter break. And then when we got back from winter break, I couldn't even see them back from winter break because I got the flu.
Right.
And then that was a long weekend because we had Martin Luther King after that.
Mm-hmm.
And then concert music camps on Thursday, Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really
when
they were sight reading that music.
Yeah, AJ was sick
pretty
during
much.
FMEA.
That's right.
Yeah.
So same thing.
But my kids were pretty much sight reading what we had given them.
Yeah.
It had been only like 2 days since
and
they
that
got
was
the music.
January 20th, so that
we
was near the
finalized
end of
it.
January, and then all you have is February,
1920.
and then boom, MPA. So,
yeah. So really, oh my God, it was ridiculous. I'm guilty of adding some more rehearsals that we did. We added 5 rehearsals, just because I needed. And also, I there's a disclaimer. I don't have my percussion in my class with me. So they had to rehearse separately. And so we needed those extra rehearsals to line some things up vertically. And make sure that they were all on the same page. So we added those rehearsals, and obviously it boosted their confidence. Mm-hmm. But, if I had to go back and do it again, number one, it would definitely be, we need to work on our rhythm reading. And I definitely need to do some more personal work on learning how to teach intonation and learning how to get that sound that I feel is just I'm trying to get those straight A's. Like I'm trying to get those. Like I don't want any more B's on the next card that we get or the next judge sheet, because I think I know what it takes to get that sound, but I just need to learn how to teach it. We've all been part of ensembles that have gotten that sound. So, there really shouldn't be a reason why we can't try and achieve that with our groups. They are middle schoolers, but
sonority is sonority.
I think right. But even on our judge sheets, we got comments saying great band sonority. But in my mind, I was like, okay, there were still some intonation issues. There were still some this and that, and there always will be issues. But I'm really, really hungry to get that kind of sound that is just impressive. Like I want that sound. So
I have one topic of conversation left.
Yeah.
Have you guys listened to your judges tapes yet?
Mine, I checked this morning and they're still not uploaded.
Really?
Boy. Yeah. Well, I checked on Thursday and still
Larry
nothing.
Emailed them.
So I'll check.
Larry emails them to us like as soon as we're done.
Emails them?
Yeah, I got them in a Google Drive. Like it's all of my stage recordings and then the judges' recordings. Because I was going to say the next topic of conversation that we could do to kind of wrap it up is what was one thing from the judges that stuck out to you, one way or another, aside from my dress code conversation. Which do I want to get into that? Do I want to get into that?
No.
Okay.
Unless you want to. I mean,
no. What were we going to say?
I just didn't want to expose anyone.
Sure.
We can cut it out.
We can talk about what we're looking forward to for the last quarter of school.
Oh, that's right. Christian,
because we're all on spring break.
By the way, Andrew, we never talked about the sight reading.
Oh yeah, we never talked about the sight reading, but that's. I mean, we don't have to if we don't need to.
Long story short, it was interesting.
Yeah.
And I'll leave it at that.
Key changes in the middle. Key changes with first and second innings and
multiple repeats.
I was like, huh?
So it was a lot. Yeah. So, but we did what we could.
Variations on a beat 2. For the last beat 2 entrance on that piece, I literally did like a bat, like a baseball bat home run.
Oh my God, yes, yes, yeah, me too. My conducting was so intense.
It was so funny
on that beat
because I did it, and then my judge came up to me and was like, "Nice home run." I was like, "Thanks, man." It was funny, but anyway.
All right, quarter 4.
What you looking forward to?
A less hectic quarter. I started doing my pacing for quarter 4, and I'm looking at the calendar, and I'm like, nice. We got solo and ensemble, which shouldn't be too bad, and then just a spring concert. And testing happens during May, so like all of April is going to be pretty much free. There's no trip or anything like that, so that's what I'm looking forward to, and hopefully finding out our numbers for next year and getting a good idea what that's going to be. What about you guys?
Pretty much the same thing. I think I gotta push solo and ensemble a little bit more. I told the kids that if they're not going to do solo and ensemble, they gotta at least they're going to play their solo for me. And I'm trying to.
Now they get a pass off point. They get pass off for doing a solo. I know. I mean, they'll have to do it for you eventually.
Right. So we have our concert. I'm trying to decide if we're going to do it the first week of May or the last week of April. I'm not sure yet. But April should be a pretty. It's going to be another quick month, pretty much, and then May is just all testing, pretty much. So
really, even with
we have scale wars coming up.
Fast testing and the EOCs being at the very end of the year.
Yeah. Well, we don't know we know our window, but we don't know what days that we're going to be doing it.
So I know the days.
I just assume
we do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for like 3 weeks in May.
I'll look up my calendar.
But it's just one grade, one test per day. So like, 6th grade on Monday is like ELA or something, and then Tuesday is like 8th grade biology, and then Wednesday is 7th grade ELA or something.
I'm looking up my calendar right now.
Yeah.
See what's going on because they have it posted. But anything else, AJ?
But we have our band banquet that we still got a plan for.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to think. Honestly, I've heard some rumblings about us going back into the band room eventually, but nothing concrete. I think that it's still a mess. Honestly, it's just been pretty disheartening to see the way that they've taken care of that room. I know that they're doing construction and whatnot, but there just really hasn't been any care for making sure that it everything looks stays intact.
Mm-hmm.
They told us that it was going to be, everything. You can just take all the instruments out. Everything else will be fine. Meanwhile, I'm missing 2 of my superior medals off the wall. They probably got thrown away because they fell on the ground or something. And my cabinets are all, covered in soot. My office is covered in soot. Workers are using my couch to take their breaks.
AJ,
So-
also need to get with you after break and see if we can do a Memorial Day thing together
Okay.
for City of Parkland.
Okay. That's May 30th.
May
Yeah, I
29th.
think it's like 29th.
May
or
29th.
29th.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the calendar right now.
Okay. Okay.
Let's keep that in the back of your head.
That's fine. Yeah.
Man, you guys have easy quarters. I'm excited for the quarter because I've got my Disney trip on the last Tuesday of school.
Oh, jeez.
I'm excited
No,
about
thank you.
that though. Like, I don't mind it because it's gonna make that week really, really easy. And all of the because it's a Disney trip, which means all of the logistics are gonna be taken care of before May even shows up. So like, for the month of May, it's just reminding students that it's happening.
Are you guys performing
No.
for that?
No,
Sorry,
no.
I'm clipping here. Are you guys performing for
No,
that?
no, no.
Okay.
Yeah, I
cool.
was like,
Fun day.
because I just didn't want to bring the. That's the thing is like if it was a performance, I would have done it earlier because I'm not trying to prep a performance for the last week's school.
Right.
So like it's literally just get on a bus and go. We're gonna do a college tour at UCF with Schreier and a couple of either KKSI kids or NAFME kids splitting up my band and doing tours of the campus, and then we'll be at Disney by noon and we'll be there till 8, and then we're gonna go home. And then it's super chill. Marissa's doing a Pollo con Jazz, which I was telling Christian about it. Originally, it was going to be a jazz concert with me and her, and then I was like, I don't want to do it. So now it's her and like 6 other high schools, and it's basically become a jazz fest where they're probably gonna chip in and get like either Havana's or Don Ramon's Cuban restaurant to cater. Which is super cool because as far as we know, it's one of the few, if maybe the only jazz festival in South Florida that we can think of. And like, if it goes well this year, maybe moving it to a Saturday next year and inviting Broward and Miami bands to where it's like a legitimate jazz festival where maybe it can be some sort of light form of adjudication and comments. My spring concert's May 12th because I had to book it ahead of time for Marissa's calendar. And on the spring concert, we also do after the spring concert, Marissa's band flash mobs the band, and then she does a freshman parent meeting while the 8th grade parents are in the auditorium, so they don't even have to leave. And we do like a 8th grade recruitment party with her band and my band. I'm looking at my testing days. We are testing on the 9th of May. We're testing on the 16th of May, and we're testing on the 17th of May, and that's it.
Nice.
Which is badass. Yeah,
pretty good.
It's fast math, and then fast science and civics on the same day for the 7th and 6th graders, and 8th graders. It's my calendar is a little bit busier because I'm also helping, with Marissa's events as well. We both help with each other's. So we've got state. No, not state. We have state at S&E on Monday. And then she's got her Busch Gardens trip on April 22nd. And then we've got one more all-county event on April 12th and 13th. It was the Jazz all-county that was postponed because of the hurricane. So it's a pretty busy quarter in addition to, other things that we're doing. But it's a pretty busy quarter. But
In
like
addition to Tears of the Kingdom, May 12th.
Oh yes,
bro.
That's after my concert. I'm going straight to your house, and we're gonna stay up for 48 hours. But it's a pretty busy quarter. But I'm excited for it because you as you guys know, like this is the quarter where your 8th graders play like high schoolers, and your 7th graders play like 8th graders, and your 6th graders start to play like 7th graders. And so it's just as you're diving into the more advanced methods, you're also able to play a little bit more advanced music and dive into more advanced musical concepts and this is the Star Wars quarter and the Avengers quarter and the Ant-Man quarter and the Black Panther quarter and the Disney mermaid like Little Mermaid quarter. Like it's all fun music. And so I'm excited for it, and I'm also just excited for the school year to be over because I'm there. But
it went by fast, I think. It went by very fast. Last year went by pretty slow, and I feel like it was just because the kids were coming out of COVID. It was the first real year back. This year went by so fast. I can't even believe it's almost April now.
That third quarter was a blur. Holy cow.
Yeah, can't really understate that. That was or overstate
like this past
that.
one. This was the one we just finished. Yeah, man.
Yeah. It went by so
quick.
quickly. I just think that I don't think we realized it just because we had Midwest, we had winter break, then we had FMEA, then we had concert music camp, and we had just one all county. Then we had 1 month to prepare our music, and then
in addition to that, we also had solo and ensemble. So we had FMEA, all county, solo and ensemble, pre-MPA, the real MPA, and we did both of us did 2 MPAs because she was at mine and I was at hers, and then
don't forget about pre-MPA, and I had my marching band was still doing things well into February. We had performances at elementary schools that we went to, and that too. That was
also
a huge
visiting
thing.
other bands. Like Marissa and I think visited more bands this quarter than any year that we've ever done. Like we went to Seminole Ridge, we went to Park Vista, we went to Jupiter, we went to Palm Springs, I went to Lake Worth, like Suncoast. Like we were everywhere, and so it was like every day. If we weren't working our own bands, we were working someone else's bands, or doing some sort of band related event that week. Like, man, oh my god,
yeah.
But yeah, it is what it is. So yeah, man, like it's been a successful year. I'm excited to see how we fare into it. Pick us out, Christian. Do them.
Bye.
Bye.
This has been the Florida Band Podcast. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, I think we said that at the same time. All right. Peace out.
Deuces.